Welcome to our very first YouTube live. We're just proud of
Yes,
ourselves for getting on successfully. And
for
if you're watching,
showing up, for showing
we're,
up here.
we're,
Let's start with, hey Bethany. First of all, how are you?
I'm great. Thank
Good,
you.
good. Let's start with something good. So I'm gonna ask you something good.
Something good. Ready to go. Rapid fire. Okay, my go to something good is that it is sunny outside. I live in the Pacific Northwest, so I'm now learning that this is a very rare occurrence for it to be a blue sky day with few clouds, no rain, and I'm grateful for that. And I have good coffee. That's my main.
Amazing, and it's April 3rd. Blue skies up in Pacific Northwest. That's a good thing.
Exactly. What's yours?
Mine is I just got to enjoy a Go Macro bar, which is like my favorite. These bars are my favorite. I don't know if you've had these, but this is a granola and coconut one, and I'm super excited that I got my hands on it because this is like a very coveted item at the house, and my daughters, particularly one of them, will steal them, or when we buy them, she will go hide them in a special place, and I won't know that they're here. So I found this one, and I got to enjoy it. So I'm pretty excited about that.
Shout out,
So
shout out to all the parents out there.
all right. So what we want to talk about in our brief time here together is we just got some results back from a CMO survey, Chief Marketing Officer survey, essentially talking to marketers who are at the helm of a brand of some kind, um, and really, somewhat responsible for the trajectory of the brand's success. And so they're navigating in-house teams and outside resources and agencies and stuff. And so we talked to them through a survey to get some feedback from them on how they're feeling about um, their resources, their strategy, their paid media, their creative, and just operationally and organizationally. So we just got back some results that are really kind of fun to look at. And while we haven't really distilled them down completely, we will do that and we'll share them out via LinkedIn or maybe back here on YouTube. But for now, we did get some initial takeaways, which are kind of fun. So we thought we'd talk about that. Does that sound good?
Yeah, let's do it. It's kind of like
Okay.
therapy for CMOs, right? Like we sit across from them on the couch if we were
Yes.
go to counseling. And I think it's just interesting though to be able to articulate some of these things that are often uh, just intuitive or internal, but not expressed. And so,
Yeah.
just us having conversations all the time with marketing leaders, of which, if you're watching, you probably are one. We hope this is helpful for you, even just to hear, so that you can identify, even in words, what you're experiencing, and then feel some of the community around you that's going through some of those same things and navigate forward. So let's do it.
Yeah, it's like, lay down on the proverbial leather couch and let's talk about the pain points and the good stuff. But there are some pain points. And the first thing I'll bring up, like overall takeaways, is looking at this. And again, categories. One was on strategy, like brand strategy, um, yeah, essentially media. And when I say media, paid media specifically. So a lot of digital, but just in general, paid media. We're not talking about earned media or own media or other kinds, but paid media. Then creative. So creative being creative messaging, creative development, the creative campaigns, and then just things that are organizational, like how many cooks there are in the kitchen, or is leadership supportive? Are you getting bottlenecked? Is ROI hard to prove? Certain things like that. So if you look at the four categories, my
Yeah.
this one overall takeaway was just there's more unhappiness than I expected to see. I mean, it wasn't all like rainbows and unicorns in terms of the happiness level. Would you say, looking at this?
Yeah, I agree. And what's fun about this too is with that therapy analogy, we did a survey where they could check, a smiley face or like a kind of straight line face,
Like
a
the airport
straight
bathroom when you
like
leave,
the airport
are you
there's
happy? Are you sad? Or is it okay?
it. Yes, exactly. And then a sad face. So just so that you have the context as you're listening to this, where we got this information, I was surprised, yeah, to see that in all 4 categories, there was less than 50% happiness. And so, I think just that reality and that honesty and transparency alone is really interesting, because the point is, even you, whoever's watching, whatever you're seeing in your daily reality, I think it's easy to think like, oh, probably everybody else has this stuff down and I don't, or my team can't get it together, but everybody else has all 4 of these categories check check check, like they're humming along, and that's just not the case, right? Like,
Yeah,
uh,
yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's just good for my perspective, I think, just to see, okay, there are different areas that need to be fine tuned, but across the board, it is less than 50% that saw that selected that green smiley face box.
Mhm.
So
Yeah. And the one realm that seemed, they're just kind of like more neutral or a little unhappy would
mm,
be in paid media. It seemed like there's some things, in terms of establishing key KPIs, key performance indicators,
yeah,
or the frequency of reporting, or the fact that there's data overload, but not necessarily human powered insights to accompany that data overload.
yeah.
Or, one of them that popped up was just not, it's kind of like we don't know what we don't know enough about new tech or channels in order to adopt and evolve, right?
Hmm. Yeah, interesting. And I would be curious to know, even if in the comments you would want to say if you resonate, like if you had to rate of those four categories, like which one would you say is humming along, and then which one needs the most work? That would be interesting to know just as you're watching this. But yeah, overall, that was the category that stood out, and it is also the most complex, if you will,
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
all. They're all complex in their own way, but
But
there's a
hard to manage in-house too. I
hard
mean,
to
just
manage.
hard. Yeah.
Yeah, and obviously we are an agency, door number three, so we help brands and navigate that complexity and help to alleviate some of the confusion that can come in the paid media realm. But it's complex, and so I think just offhand, like kind of cursory glance at the four, why would paid media be the most unhappy or the most challenging area? And it's probably that there's a lot of factors to consider, and it's kind of like it is kind of the heartbeat in a sense of like all of your efforts in creativity and all of the project management and all of the different the strategy is kind of tested and proven in paid media. So it's like all of those three areas come together, and then paid media is where it actually like stands up, you know,
Yeah.
and,
Yeah.
and it's goes before the results that speak for themselves. So
Yeah.
that's
For sure. Yeah, no, it's interesting to see. The one that was kind of polarizing, or just there was a all over the place in terms of people's. It was under organizational. Like it seemed like the people that were in good situations, they could get leadership to champion ideas and move things forward. They're in good places. There are not too many cooks in the kitchen, but that one seemed to be like all over the place. There are some people that are definitely feeling stuck by strained resources or too much involvement from too many players, things like that. So I would say in that department, it was all over the board.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think you would, whoever's watching, let us know in the comments, but you would probably relate to that. It can be like herding cats. And I think just the importance of clarity across the board, that section in particular is the people heavy one, in that it's a lot of nuance there in your particular situation, your particular team, and they all require leadership, but I think trying to inspire your team around all of these moving parts, it will show up, the pain points will show up in this section more so of like, how's it going rallying the team around a lot of these efforts. And I think one of the questions here was regarding, I'm actually just going to look, one of the questions here was regarding having a challenge in proving ROI and trying to
Hmm.
up budget cuts, and like that pressure.
Yeah, I may be solo. I may have lost Beth. Oh, you're back. Okay, I thought I
Yeah.
lost
Oh,
you for a
I
minute.
had a call come in, and
Is that
I
what
can't.
happens? You just go
Yeah.
go black. No.
Let
To
me
that point,
Yeah.
though, over 70% of respondents are not happy with how budgets or timelines stay on track. This was
Mhm.
tied for the most unhappy of responses. So budgets and timelines, major pain point, which
Yeah.
is sign of the times, I think. I don't,
Mhm.
we'd have to dig into that a little bit more to see. We also had some written responses too, a lot of written responses. So I want to kind of go back and look at those and see if there's more
Oh, yeah.
color around that.
Let's do that.
Yeah.
So, uh, we did a qualitative component to each of these questions. So, On that first one regarding strategy, we asked the question, the open-ended fill-in-the-blank question of what else about developing a strategy is causing you undue stress or frustration. And it was kind of all over the map a bit in the responses. So I'll just highlight a couple, which are, um, as you said, even just the approval process, the stakeholder approval process, though.
Uh-huh. Yeah, it's
Um,
a big one.
Slow, and the budget cuts have impacted our strategies. So that was one. And then another response is just that we have a small team and lack of expertise in certain areas, which we work with challenger brands, and it's ruthless prioritizing, constantly of there's a lot of needs and we have to prioritize it in different ways. And so with this small team, how can we get the most done? And naturally, there's some areas that you might not have a specialist per se in a certain area on your team. A third one was that the pace of change in social media, consumer attention, and then some frustration around how to best reach our target audience given the change of behaviors that these
Yeah.
evolve. So that's just real, isn't it? Like just the pace
Yep.
at which things are going, and you're trying to develop a plan, but these trends are happening by the time you become aware of the trend. And then try
Hmm.
to catch up, just trying to make sure that the machine you're building is flexible and fast paced in its ability to kind of turn as needed, and stay up to speed. So
Yeah.
yeah, some other ones on just their go to market strategy and just getting overall alignment and clarity on what it is. That
Yeah.
was interesting. So
Another one, and I know we're kind of just cherry picking here. We'll have to
yeah.
go back and summarize this, but tied for the most unhappy responses in the whole survey is having too many different departments to support. And that's
Mm,
interesting, and it's true. I mean, with the marketing leaders that we work with, they do have so many departments
yeah.
to support, and
Yeah.
they're really at the center of everything, of product
Right.
innovation, customer support, human resources, of course, marketing, communications, PR, and they really have awareness and um, not just awareness, but so much influence as well on all those other departments. And so I can see that being a big pain point. I can totally that resonates with me, and I'm not surprised that that got a lot of sad faces.
To be the
How,
catch-all kind of. Yeah, like
yeah,
it is often
yeah.
overlooked, all the tentacles and the ways that marketing supports the kind of the underbelly of the whole entire organization, and it's often assumed, oh yeah, just that's a function that falls in their department when it might be needing to be solved organizationally instead. Hmm.
I think that's a good reminder, though, for folks in our role on the agency side is not just like how do we do great work for you, but how do we continue to help you support these different entities within your organization and show up for them.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's not the most sexy work, but it's such an important part of the relationship and shepherding along really good ideas is making sure that all that is really supported and they feel good on that front. So that's a good reminder. I like seeing that. So
Communication, huh? I know we just did an episode that came out about 2 weeks ago with Daniel. We know our friend from used to talk to, and he was just emphasizing communication as the thread, of course, throughout all of these sections, but just
yeah,
in maintaining a strong even agency and brand partnership, picking up the phone and calling. And I thought that was just an interesting little tiny
yeah.
tidbit that our 2024 selves needed a reminder of, because in all of this, I'm thinking, what are the ways that we can just continue to refine and improve? And I'm going to leave our audience with that one
Yeah.
tidbit, passing it along from him to pick up the phone, call, over communicating, and we can't neglect that piece of it and how it uplifts each of these areas, right?
Yeah, and to his point, and he's an agency consult he's a matchmaker between brands and agencies essentially, but
Yeah.
his point was, his POV was that, when it falls apart, it's usually not about the work or the strategy or the media. It falls apart because of poor communication, that relationship. And so just sometimes these things seem so obvious. You're like, well, of course, but it's interesting
It
to
is.
hear that from him, and that's a really, really good reminder. There's always ways to up your game from a communication standpoint. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
You got
good
it. Well,
stuff.
we'll circle back as
All
pretty
right.
in other ways to continue to share this information. I hope it's been helpful, just this initial chat, but we look forward to rolling these results out to you and let you have a mirror, hopefully see your experience reflected back in your
Yeah.
daily life. And we'll continue to kind of pull out those insights that can be helpful for you. And so this has been fun. Thanks for joining.
Talk soon. Bye.
Okay. Bye.